So CowChop asked me to do a podcast with them. I went to Nordstrom to pick out a nice plaid shirt so I could look presentable, but it was $168 for a plaid shirt. Do you know how much money $168 is? Let me break this down for you. It costs $150 to buy a dozen eggs in Venezuela right now. So take that into consideration the next time you walk into Nordstrom, because you're getting a good deal. Alien Covenant is a piece of shit. I can't hear you. There's a bunch of racket.
Where are you?
I'm at the mall. I'm getting a new shirt for your podcast. Welcome, boys, to my land.
Oh boy.
Thailand. Sugar Pine 7, the pioneers of a new creative industry, set forth on their Mayflower, aka Kib's shitty Honda, to film a video at a junkyard circa April 5th, 2017. What separates the CowChop podcast from most others is that they film each episode at a different inconvenient location, each one somehow worse than the last.
Honestly, it's just nice to be back.
Up while we're standing here waiting. It's nice to be back.
And what I admire most about CowChop is just when you think they won't create another show based on an unsustainable concept, they completely prove you wrong. Some of the first contacts I made in LA were here.
How many drinks?
One of the main reasons you should watch this podcast when it comes out is because the intercom kept going off with either terrifying phone ringing or the Brady Bunch theme, which was just as, if not more, terrifying.
I don't see a bulge.
Kind of like tucked here. One of my balls here.
This won't make sense until you see their video, but I got a closer look, rather smell, with Brett's balls than I ever wanted.
Is this the part where you do your funny voiceover bit?
So I was listening to what Alex just said, and then I slowly started realizing any single member of CowChop, if the screen was black, could have said that. The vocal pattern between the trio is exactly the same. Here, imagine Trevor is saying this.
Is this the part where you do your funny voiceover bit?
I'm willing to bet you were easily able to imagine Trevor saying that. Is this inflection, this way of speaking, is it a learned behavior? Or were they both very similar beforehand? These are the experiments I'm looking to perform on guests when the Sugar Pine 7 podcast comes out. On another note about the future and preparing for it, I've had to start preparing for the worst case scenario in case Kib does get sent back to Canada for 6 whole months. And that scenario is finding a replacement. You're fine with us, recording this?
Yeah.
This is the audition for Kib replacement number 1, I guess. Oh, God. I have what many describe as a very intricate interviewing process. I first start out by making the interviewee feel less important than the food I'm eating. Just one sec. What's your name? Full name?
Vincent Sear.
What nationality is that? Swedish?
French-Canadian, close.
Yep. Okay. We're trying to do interviews for a potential Kib replacement. And don't look me directly in the eyes until I've learned to trust you. I had a few tests for Vincent to perform in wake of Kib's separation. And just, have at it.
What is this?
Unfortunately, the very first test, Vincent failed. I know for a fact Kib wouldn't have coughed purely because he has what doctors describe as walk-the-line pneumonia.
Okay.
Vape thing's not a big deal. It's just, there's no nicotine in it, so I just don't know how that possibly affected you poorly. Next, we're gonna go over some rhyming techniques. Not a song, just rhyming, like, we're in the van, now it's time to get some hands. You have 3 mimosas.
Yep, middle name Sammy Sosa's.
Ooh! Right off the bat, I'm going to say that test number 2 almost secured him as Kib's replacement. He was just a little bit too confident, but that confidence also could have been a stroke.
Your favorite second congressional hearing?
Probably the one of 1965.
Which stated?
That one man does not condone for himself, but he condones for the actions of those around him.
Even if this was false, it sounded far too real. Kib's version of the US government in his head is one where Bernie Sanders is Justin Trudeau's dad, and that's the extent of Kib's knowledge of the United States. Another point off for Vincent. How do you feel about headbands?
For the most part, I'm indifferent.
I almost threw up. Do some research for the role that you want. My God. We're gonna go over a secret handshake. We're just gonna make this real quick. We're gonna make it real simple. I'll fuck you up, I'll fuck you up, I'll fuck you up. I actually respect you as a human being. It just, I don't know, it wasn't the same. Now we're gonna check out your back and forth with James.
I don't know you, but I'll get to. When I met Kib, I had a really bad nosebleed at the time, and he immediately made me feel better. And I don't think that you would do that for me. I don't think that you would sacrifice anything to make me know who I am as a person. And that's something that really is like a must-have.
What about Star Wars?
I love Star Wars. He's cool.
Nailed the chemistry with James. The headband thing is still kind of a bummer. Hey, Paul. Okay, I guess Paul is too good for us now. Either way, right after that, I got the investment opportunity of a lifetime. I'm not gonna give you any answer yet.
myself.
Lucky boy, right here. Oh,
Number one,
good year. How many of these are made?
$10. Oh, Chinese.
I would prefer her over Kib in general. All right. Goodbye. I could tell on the way out that Vincent's body structure would prevent him in the future from doing any physical humor. He looked brittle, like at some point down the line he would develop osteoporosis or jaundice. And with my company, I will not be willing to support pre-existing conditions, let alone jaundice, let alone John Deere's disease. You can't take pictures or videos? What about the third option? Videos. Yeah, you heard him right. You can't even take videos, dude.
Wait a minute. Guys.
So one aspect of our future business that I'm trying to work out right now is our internship process. We are planning on hiring interns. It's just a very tasking thing to figure out, and the goal is to make it good for both sides. So one issue that we're having is that there's like so much work to go around and not enough people to do it. Imagine this, unpaid people. There has to be some benefit to them working for us because otherwise no one's gonna... Interns, not mortals. Let me actually post a Craigslist ad. Do you have a Craigslist account?
I don't think that you should use my computer for it.
Because I need somebody to do... Why? We have so many like intricate little...
You match like the wall perfectly. Your skin, your hair, your hat, your mirror.
But the trick is like getting them to learn a lot about the industry, which I think us over a lot of other channels would be able to do because we have so many like intricate little things we've all learned from... Is this actually a...
Dude, you know who my favorite Star Wars character is?
Oh, here we go. It worked.
Darth Vader.
Queen mattress. Who's selling a queen mattress?
I remember when I was an intern and like it was so bad for me, but now we can be bad to them. Dude, we can mistreat them!
No, we're not gonna mistreat. There are people that have done internships that I've heard of. One of them planted a tree. That has nothing to do with the entertainment industry. We're teaching people a lot about editing, a lot about the production, a lot about idea creation. We're going to make whoever our interns are better people. And potentially they'll rise up and be like how interns at SourceFed did, where they rose up and became hosts. Like look at Will Haynes, look at Raina Scully. We're gonna follow that. So why isn't this posting? I want to post a job offer. We're looking for people that are in college, right? It could even be younger, it just depends on the age, but they're definitely like, they fall under a certain age bracket. So not adults. Kids, like kids. Yeah, I guess.
Small hands, quicker at typing.
They'll be doing typing, they'll be doing a lot of subtitle work, little like handiwork. What's like a quick version of that? Like a buzzword, like a business, like streamline the word, hand jobs. And then, I guess, well, 4 kids. Okay. Cool.
Handjobs for kids? That could be like a really dope name for a company.
Bangarang, get ready for our new internship process, Handjobs for Kids. It'll be ready within the next couple of months. All we really need at this point is an office. So here's the best thing about today. If we had an office, I would have saved 3 whole hours of driving because I wouldn't have had to drive to James's. We could have shot that at an office. I wouldn't have had to drive to Autumn's because she would just be in the office to edit, and I wouldn't have to drive home. I mean, I would have to drive home anyway, but it would only be like 20 minutes from where I live. So imagine saving 3 hours a day. Sorry, I'm getting a text. I don't believe I'll be going to that famous person's party.
Hello.
Is this what you expected?
I expected all of Sugar Pine 7.
But instead it's just me this time.
Thank God.
Just hug me. Very good. Jesus, Ian, you live in poverty. Ian is the type of person who Kanye West describes as, you know, white people get money, don't spend it, or maybe they get money by a business. From the hit song, Click. What the hell? You have 3 bottles of wine over there. What kind of bed is that? Don't know. I was just walking closet. That's the smallest rug I have ever seen. Now that I was done walking through Ian's house of horror, I had one more stop to make, which was another hour drive. Open the door. No, don't just open the door. I went over to Kibbs because he told me he had something very important to show me. In all honesty, I figured it was going to be something stupid like hubcaps for a car.
See my hubcaps? Guess how much all this costs?
I don't know, like 50,
not much.
$50.
About that.
Whenever somebody excitedly asks me to guess an amount for anything, I always either hit really low or really high, completely ruining the guessing process because whatever answer they have is a lot less exciting than the one I've given them. Huh?
Why do you like to ruin that magic for people?
Because why does anybody need that magic? It's not like I'm gonna be like, hey, guess how much...
Makes everybody feel good in the moment.
Name one thing about feeling good that you like.
The feeling of it.
This looks so much better!
So much better. Like,
wow! It's just, you can see the rust underneath that.
Shut up about the rust!
Actually, it makes it look, oh, that dent!
Excuse my dent!
It really sticks out.
Funny
what is
ones?
that kind of thumb that sticks out?
It sticks out like a thumb in your ass! So, we should head out, yeah.
Yeah. Ew! What the fuck did you step on? Is that someone's vomit?
Oh, my vomit, yeah.
Should I hang out in the dumpsters?
I don't want to hang out in the dumpsters.
It's really fun. Check it out. Dude, you just never know what you'll find.
Oh, what are those things?
A little bit of savings.
That looks like a salmon skin.
And or a vagina blood wipe.
Oh, actually, yeah.
Matter of fact, I think I'm gonna get out.
Oh no,
What are you doing?
Alfredo, he left his Craigslist account open.
That's not a big deal. Not a deal breaker.
You're a fucking idiot. That means I can order whatever I want on his dime. Alright, let's see. Missile silos.
How to fish? What? Is that book? How to fish?
Yeah, it's about how to fish! Listen, Alfredo, I swear to fucking God.
Guns don't fear me.
Oh my God.
I've got the power of a player.